Hello, everyone. Is this thing on? Can you hear me? Okay, good. Oh, I'm so excited. We've got such a great panel. My name is Lori Hammel, and I'm going to be leading you tonight through a very important journey that has become part of being an actor, putting yourself out there, right? So Melissa has gathered the best, and I really appreciate that because we have such a wonderful variety of experience and everyone coming from a different place but a very successful place around social media and other parts of their lives as well. So without further ado, could we please go down the line and just introduce yourselves and what you hope to be able to impart to our actors here tonight.
Oi. I'm Alex Newell, and I have to think on that last part.
Okay, that's all right.
Hi, I'm Tony, and I am a digital strategist for artists. I was an actor for 20 years, guess my age. And thank you. Tonight, I hope to help you balance it all. And I think that it is a game, and it's learning how to handle it all.
Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. It's so cool to see a full house tonight. My name is Azia Celestino, and I'm sometimes in the moderating seat, and when I am, I say I'm an anchor, a journalist, and a paid-up SAG-AFTRA member. I kind of started out in the world of acting and then took a break for college and to pursue journalism, and it wasn't until I kind of rejoined the SAG-AFTRA Foundation that I realized how much this union and the foundation community is really a privilege. So I wanted to thank you guys for inviting me out to give some wisdom. And I think the biggest thing I want to impart tonight is some confidence for everyone out there, because self-promotion should be something that you're confident about.
I agree. I'm Heidi Dean. I'm a social media coach for actors. And thank you for having me as well. My clients, I work with all different actors, child actors just starting out, to Emmy Award winners, Broadway stars, to celebrities. But the one thing I notice with all of these people who are at all different levels of their career is the topic we're talking about tonight. They all struggle with this. So I'm really happy we're talking about this, because it doesn't matter what level you are at your career, this can be hard. So I'm hoping in this hour or so that with me and my team here, all of us, you can start posting with purpose and posting confidently on social media. And yeah, let's do this.
Great. Alex, do you want me to circle back to you?
No,
now?
I got it now.
Okay, good. Tell us.
I'm like really good at it. For me, I'm just your everyday actor. That's it. I think what I can impart is I think I'm really, 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 really good at social media. And it's not just because I have a bigger following. I've been doing it since it was like a thing. I'm 27. I'm a millennial. Oh, 26. I'm still saying 27. But I'm a millennial. And so I grew up with social media. Like I was MySpace, and then it was Facebook, and then it was Twitter, and then it was Instagram. And so I think I really have a good track record with it all and a good handle. And I hope that I can impart some of that to you all.
Well, fantastic. You know, I came up with some questions. Melissa has some wonderful questions. And then toward the end of our talk tonight, you'll have an opportunity to pass your questions in so that we can answer those as well if they haven't been covered. But, you know, this topic is, well, there's so many facets of it. And part of it is, you know, you don't want to be that person who either is not doing anything because you're paralyzed, you don't know where to start, or you're doing some things that are very questionable and that aren't really fitting who you are or what you want to say. So first of all, I think that people get afraid of going too far and posting something or doing things that are annoying, or who knows. I will open that like kind of like ... But have you ever had, just to start out, because I love how you guys are making this is a human thing. This is something that everyone, no matter where they are in their career, has to deal with, or their team does. Have you ever had something that you weren't happy with the way it went, or you had a client or a friend, that it went in a way that they didn't want or you didn't want, but you were able to circle back somehow and fix it, so that we know that we're not going to hurt ourselves by taking some steps forward. Whether you're someone who hasn't done it before, or you're someone who's kind of good at it but wants to get better and learn tonight. So, have you ever had something happen for you or someone else that was like, oops, bad, and then being able to somehow resurrect it or change it so that it's not a mistake forever? Anyone want to speak to that?
Oh my gosh, all the time, even to this day. That's why I think it's so cool to be asked to speak on a panel about self-promotion, because I feel like, what does an expert on self-promotion look like? It's not just social media, it's the way that you present yourself, or the way that you're reaching out to people, how you represent yourself as a person. So, I see messages that I wrote on Twitter years ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who wrote that? It's not me. I don't know where that came from, and I am totally guilty. I've deleted things because I felt like it no longer represented me in the way that I felt like it should. And I think that's just kind of like the nature of the beast now with everything on the internet. Once you post something, it's kind of set in stone. But the good thing is that you can, with self-promotion, you can take control of your story and decide which things are front and center. So yeah, I don't have like one thing in particular that I maybe felt like I failed at, or it didn't go the way that I planned, or it kind of annoyed someone, a client. But I think in general, we're all kind of trying to find our voice and reframe what that means for us.
One of the things that I like to refer to is that you're building a brand. You're not necessarily using social media. Look at the intention. And one of the things that I like to refer to it as is a pointillism painting. So every single comment, every single tweet, every single Instagram post, story is a little dot in your painting that adds up to someone's big picture of who you are. And so it's just bringing consciousness and awareness to every single little tiny impression you make on the internet and offline. And then it also gives you courage to say, like, you know what? So that person didn't like my painting. That's okay. I'm going to go find the people who like this painting. And furthermore, talking about mistakes, whether it's internal or external, so topic of the day, Jussie Smollett, what he does now is going to be over his painting. Like, he has a lot of repair to do because he has ripped his painting to shreds. So he has a lot of work to do to add positive impressions in order to win back his brand. So that's a huge example, but a bad review or, some sort of minor crisis, you have the ability to create art out of that. And it's really about what you do next to add up to make the masterpiece.
Go ahead.
I always say comment clapback. I do those very often. I always loved if someone says something. I've grown a lot. I used to clap back a lot. Now I'm an adult and I don't do it as much. But a clapback, I mean, I've said stuff in the past, and like when I was 18, 19 on Instagram and Twitter, where someone didn't like me and I said, well, why'd you say that? Why'd you do that? Or someone didn't agree with my post and we had a huge fight and a full thread of an argument. Now I can go back and delete that, or I can go back and say, I was wrong. We actually were talking about the same thing, just different viewpoints on it. So it's like you have to grow and know that you have growth in what you're doing and what you're posting, and what you do post in your career-wise and self-promotion grows with you.
Heidi?
And I think you guys have to know there's no such thing as perfect on social media. And your feeds, your grid is always going to be changing. I have clients all the time, after we work together, after they're posting a lot on Instagram, they're like, well, my grid looks so much better now. Should I go back and delete or archive everything from the past? And for the most part, my answer is usually no. That's part of your story. And if you go back to my beginning posts, they don't look so good either. And everyone understands that, So know that you don't have to be perfect. Know that everybody is not going to agree with you. Not everyone's going to like all your posts. You're not pizza, right? We're not all going to agree. So, you have to accept that. There are plenty of people that are going to want to be in your community, are going to want to be in your tribe if you're putting that out there. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you're putting that out there, what you put out is going to come right back to you, and you're going to grow the tribe that you want to be a part of. Does that mean some people are going to unfollow you? Yes. Does that mean some people aren't going to like some things you're talking about? Yes, but that's okay. And that goes for social media, that goes for email, newsletters, subscribers, so it's your job really to find a way to tell your story and to find a tribe and followers that are going to want to go on that journey with you. So.
And kind of on that same note, I have to say, some people do advocate for those different apps that you can download that show you who follows you or unfollows you. I personally don't have them because I feel like it's toxic and it's a waste of your effort and your time. I only follow people who I authentically like or am interested in or find that their content inspires me. And I don't care. It's not really my business who follows me or unfollows me. That's just how I see it.
So talking about not taking things personally, because that's sort of what I'm hearing. Also, it's like being willing to be personable because you are, showing up as you, but then having, just like everything else in this business, sort of having that, deciding how thick your skin needs to be depending on what you're doing. So if someone is, you can keep yourself crazy by staying up late at night and looking and seeing who's not following you anymore or something like that. Or you can just let it go and just keep moving forward. And I really liked what you said, your vibe attracts your tribe. That's really nice. Yeah, you went by it quickly, so I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, that'd be a nice t-shirt. Your vibe attracts your tribe. That's great. And also, it's nice to hear you say that to Alex about working on this for so long that you've been, keep finding your voice. I mean, MySpace obviously doesn't even exist anymore, but you were still there and you were learning and you were gathering. Now, do you feel for yourself that it was a specific event that happened that bumped you into maybe more of a confidence about who you are and what you're putting out on social media?
Yeah, I was on this reality show called the Glee Project. It was right before I started doing Glee, and I was the least famous person off the Glee Project. Sorry, not famous, but least liked person. And everyone else's numbers were shooting up, and mine's just kind of plateaued. So everyone else had hundreds of thousands, and I had 90,000 or 70,000 or 10. I don't remember. It was something lower than everybody else. And so I remember just posting videos of me singing or me being me or just being stupid as I do, and it kept going up. And it's not about being instantly having followers. It was kind of the people that my tribe went with my vibe in a way. So the more that I was just myself, the more followers I got, and as I grow, the number still grows at the same time. It's all about being yourself, honestly. And you have to be, what you said, you have to be willing to have a thicker skin for what you're going to put out there. If you're going to be really, really dumb and spew hatred, then you're going to get a clap back and you're going to get a lash out about that. And if you're going to be kind to others, know that those people are going to, kinder people are going to follow you as well.
And how do you, I'd love to hear you guys speak on what do you feel like is knowing that you're on the right track? Because obviously, if you get a whole bunch of likes, that you're not going to go through every one of those and say, oh yeah, I remember that person from this. And I mean, if people were following you from a show, you may not even know how they know you. They've just been part of your tribe for a while. So what are ways that that, especially when people are taking kind of first steps or efforts to get from where they are right now to further into reaching a greater group of people, what are things that let you know that it is working?
Well, obviously, engagement metrics, where social media, I would say one of the biggest, to just kind of broaden it out a little bit, one of the biggest mistakes I see actors making with their posting, and is why they feel it's so promotional, is that they treat their social media like a megaphone instead of like a telephone. So remember that social media is more like a telephone than a megaphone. It's about conversation. It's about dialogue. So the more you can start conversations with people, you're going to get more engagement, so you're going to know you're doing a better job, and you're not going to feel like you're promoting all the time, because you're going to have a big shift in your social media. You're going to take it from the look at me, all about me, which is how a lot of people feel, and you're going to make it into a we, because you're asking questions. You're making it into a conversation. So engagement's going to be one of those big things, because you are going to be talking to other people. It's not just you talking to yourself, it's you talking to your fans and followers. And there's a lot of ways to do this. Can I talk about a couple things now?
Please
we have
do.
time?
Yes, we'd love to hear.
To turn things into a conversation that you can do right away when we get out of here. If you feel that you're going into self-promotion land, and maybe you're posting a lot about the same project, take that post that you're going to put out there and turn it into a question. That's going to automatically make it a conversation. There's a side effect too. You're going to get more engagement, which then you're going to go, oh, wow, people like this. People are responding, okay? So if you ever feel like you're promoting too much, just turn it into a question. Another thing you can do that Alex does very well, by the way, is post post with gratitude. So instead of making it just about you and posting about your project that you're doing now, or Throwback Thursday after Throwback Thursday about that project, look at me in this, look at me in that, make somebody else the subject of your post. So make it about that director you worked with, or thanking that showrunner, or make it about the whole cast, the whole project, or about your fans and followers. Once your career grows, you're going to get fan art. So throwing it back to your fans and followers. So if you can make your post more of a conversation by making it a question, by posting with gratitude and making it about someone else, or making it about the project, it's not going to be promotional, and you'll know you're on the right track because you are going to get more people responding, and it will be more like that telephone conversation instead of that megaphone. Okay.
Great, thank you. Like to add to that?
Yeah, so I call it a moment of spiritual satisfaction. You know that? Do you know what I'm saying when you're like, yes, I am doing what I'm meant to do? So that's why you chose this profession. So if you rewind, this comes from Simon Sinek's work, Start With Why. The big word for me is purpose. So I want you to answer this question with a verb, just like freshman year of acting class. I became an actor in order to. Choose your verb or verbs. Workshop these. Inspire, challenge, educate, fill in the blank, any ideas? Then you can take these, I call them like content buckets, and it opens up a world where you can inspire people through YouTube or inspire them through Instagram. Then you can go challenge them today on Twitter. So it's going to give you more permission in what you can share by starting with the why. And the easiest gateway there is I became an actor in order to verb, and I'm gonna take that verb and go act in that way on the internet stage.
I think that's a really good point too. Sometimes when people think of self-promotion, they think of sales or something that just doesn't seem fun. But I think if you focus more on putting your purpose and your passion forward and putting out content or messages that make you feel good about yourself, that's when I personally find that I see the most engagement. Or if it's a cold email to someone, whether it's like a casting director or an executive producer, that's when I see the response, is when I'm most myself.
And I think focusing too on things that are not just about acting, that's a big thing I see actors. They think, oh, I was told to be on social media for my acting career, so I'm supposed to just post about my acting career. But that's not the case. Your followers and fans, they want to know about your project, but they want to know how you're just like them. So you got to find those connection points. The Rock, we're talking about him right before we came in. He does an amazing job of this. He of course posts about his acting career, but we know about his daughter. We know about, his life as a dad, his dog that eats up the couch. We know about how much sushi somebody like that could actually eat, right? And these are connection points. And you're going to get more engagement once you start letting people into these things outside of your actor's life. I think it's going to help you tell your story, and you will start making these connections. So.
If I can add a little anecdote.
Please do.
The documentary Dancer with Sergei Polanin, one of my favorite things is a dancer dies two deaths. So you lose your dancing career at some point, right? So he's nearing the end of his his peak performance. So he's created this documentary. That's one part of his digital legacy. So if you think about your social media as your digital legacy, what are you putting out there to leave behind? But the most beautiful thing of watching this movie is, do you guys know his work, Take Me to Church? He collaborated with David LaChapelle, and he's flying through this barn. So he then captured, his peak performance in this beautiful piece of art that will now live forever on the internet and inspire generations. Beyond that, the thing that made me cry is watching little kids in their living room around the world dance along to YouTube. So I want to remind you to not get too lost in the numbers and the metrics. Much like the audience that leaves the theater or leaves the movie, you will not know the resonance of your words or your work on the internet. So keep that in mind. Like, take everything. Don't focus too hard on the metrics. Remember that there are softer benefits that you may never even know about.
Nice. That is beautiful. That's really great. I mean, because what you're really talking about is it's something you're going to have to do anyway, right? We all have to engage in some way with our, however we decide we want to do social media. So you might as well bring something of who you are and what, you know, we're trained to do as actors to it. I mean, that is just really beautiful. And I love that idea of a digital legacy and who you're inspiring through that and through that work. You know, something that, especially when you're starting out with this, is like deciding who your audience is. Because let's say you have sort of a mixed bag. You have friends and kind of, you know, from your past and current. Then you may have your family members. And then there might be some industry folks mixed in there. So if I'm going to share a recipe about, you know, pudding, and then, you know, what my cat, you know, how cute my cat is when he curls up, you know, I mean, it's sort of like, okay, so who am I talking to? How do you cover those kinds of bases? You know, I mean, about the things that are personal for you, but that you have a mixed audience, especially before you have a huge fan base, or that you kind of know what those people are responding to. So what would you say for that? Where you're starting and who your audience is?
I think we can all agree that it needs to be a mix of personal and professional. So it is okay to post those things. You do want to post something of value. So you should ask yourself, is this share-worthy? Will people care? I'm interrupting someone's day. If I called you on the phone and I said I'm making pudding, would you care?
Are you going to give me some of the pudding?
It truly just
Come on
depends.
over.
It's like, oh, okay, why not?
What kind is it?
And then in terms of defining an audience, I like to use a formula called the wizard of 1 to 1 to 1. So this is a business formula, and it can apply large to your brand or small to one email, one Instagram post, etc. So what is the ultimate number one goal of this post? Do I want like someone to watch a video? Do I want them to click a link? Do I want them to smile? Then who is the number one audience? And you choose one. So you might compose that post for Oprah, or you might compose this particular email to your best girlfriend so that it feels very personal when someone opens it. And then, am I representing my number one self? Is this the best possible version of me? And then if you apply those like filters, like Instagram filters, it's going to help you be more authentic, more strategic, and just post with more purpose and intention.
Wow, I'm loving this. You're adding just these beautiful layers and decision-making tools that you can use, because there's a strategy to it, but also like we're talking really about being authentic and also I think effective. I think that's really important. And one of the ways, you know, we were talking earlier about feedback, how you know that something is working and moving you forward. And we also know that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. You can, you know, somehow get out of that, because everyone's talked about being able to damage control in some way, things that we've done. So you don't have to be, you know, so afraid. I remember, you know, early on, my mother with the computer thinking, you know, I'm going to blow it up. It's going to blow up if I do the wrong keys or something like that. You know, and it was like, it felt real to her. And so, like, when you talk about using all of these different media, you know, platforms that you've gone through, you found how to make it work for you. But it doesn't mean that that's also that you're doing the same thing that you did when you first started, because it's also the platforms aren't the same.
No, none of them are the same.
So you keep growing.
You grow with the time. I honestly, it's like when Instagram first came out all those years ago, it was so you could take pictures of your food, or take pictures of a sunset or a flower or whatever random bug you find on the street. It was something that was so frivolous of just taking an instant picture. and gramming it. And so now it's come and it's made itself something bigger than what it is, larger than life, where you can go live on Instagram. You can create an entire story that you don't need everyone to see, or like you can make your quilt something that's more constructed. You can do all these different things and what you could back in the day, which was take the picture and then put a filter on it. Now you can take a picture and have 13 other apps to make you look different and make others look different and be a photographer at the end of the day. And Twitter is now something that's evolved. And when it was, what was it, 120 characters, 82 characters? Now you can limitlessly have characters and keep threading away. So you grow with the times and you understand what you're doing and what you're posting, and also having a different expression of it all now, rather than being on Facebook and MySpace. Because what was Facebook? Just for college kids? And I think I lied about my age and said a random college that I went to get on it. But it's those things. And it used to say Alex is, and that you had to like write it in third person. Now it's just a blank thing that you can rant and rave on. You grow and you learn with it.
Yeah, I love it. Also because to me it feels as though those platforms themselves grow, I think, depending on how people are using them. So things that used to be limiting to you, also that the people who are working to maintain those platforms are also seeing what's working and what's not working. So not only are we growing and evolving, but so are those platforms. But I really respond to your fearlessness around it. I mean, because you've been using this for some time, so you know that you can go back and say, I'm sorry. You can change it.
I use my social media as basically a commercial for me. It's basically like my own little commercial. I look at what times I get the most likes. I look at times that I don't get the most likes. And that changes with age as well, because when I was in high school, everyone was in school, so they couldn't be liking everything that I was posting. So I had to do everything the first thing in the morning or at night. It's a little blurb of who I am and what I represent. I mean, I think my mother's my first post right now, because a couple weeks ago was her birthday, and I was just like, happy birthday, Mom. Look at you go. You're still 50 in my mind. But it's a little blurb of who Alex is and how I can promote myself and extend my hand to my quote-unquote fans, my fans really, and how they're going to respond to it. In a way, I am very fearless, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't get as many likes as I want it to, or it's hurting me, I can go back and delete it. And yes, I run risk of having someone taking a screenshot of that, but someone that doesn't have as many followers as I have don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about that. You can be as fearless as you want to be when you're first starting and gaining a following. You can be just as ambitious as you want. The sky's actually the limit when it comes to social media, because you can make the mistake and then come back and fix it.
And I was wondering, Tony and Heidi, have you run into people that, being willing to show who you are and your abilities, your strengths, your wins. For some people, it feels like it's harder to get out and say something about it, to put it out there on social media. Can you talk a little bit about how you've encouraged people to find something just to get started? Because they don't want to put anything out there, because either it will be wrong or it's not relevant, or they just don't have the level of experience with it.
Well, I always encourage my clients and my students, it's actually very similar to what you just said, Alex, is that social media it's kind of like the movie of you, right? So you get to decide how you get to tell your story, and that also includes like what's not in your story. Like any good movie, there's gonna be some scenes on the cutting room floor, right? So the first thing I do with clients or anyone in my online classes is we do an exercise called putting the me in your social media. And we really do it's a 3-page exercise of everything that makes you you and awesome. Your strengths, even your weaknesses, your hobbies, your interests. Because all of these can become things that you post about, right? And when you're just starting out, this is so important, because you feel like, oh my God, I have nothing to post about. But once you do this, and you guys can do this at home too, you don't need like my exercise, but just really take some time, think about, your interests, your hobbies, causes that you would support. Don't wait till you're, a first lady. If you were first lady or first man, what would your cause be? What would the charity that you would support be? These are all things you can post about on social media. And when you have this plan, when you have this idea of what makes you you, it's so much easier. But there is a part two here. You can become more fearless. You can have more confidence when you know what you can post about, but you'll have even more confidence too when you set your limits and you know what you're not comfortable posting about. And it's really important for the red carpet. It's really important for interviews, and it's especially important on social media. So, think about the last time you saw an actor like on a late night talk show. There is a 100% chance that they told that host, what topic was off limits. So they didn't have to say none your business, right, at that interview. So those are what I call your nunyas. So you go through this long list of everything that makes you you, and then you go and scratch out your nunyas, which change over time because we change, right? So your nunyas right now might be who you love, where you worship, who you vote for. Or maybe your kids are your nunyas. Or maybe your nunyas are that you post about your kids, but you talk about your kids, but you don't show pictures. So these change. You look at Kerry Washington, her nunyas are her kids and her husband. But opposite, side of the spectrum, Busy Phillips posts all about her kids and talks about her husband. And they've both been able to grow a tribe around these different likes, interests, and nunyas. So really, if you're just starting out, that is the place to start. You got to figure out what makes you you, and then what you're not comfortable posting about right now. And that's a starting point for everything, for your posts, for everything on social media, because it really does start with you.
And I would say if you're just starting out, or even regardless, if you're taking notes, write network in big capital letters and put a box around it, because they are social networks. They are not social markets. So the power is in other people, spreading your message, creating relationships with other people. So to further that, just to reframe what social media is, old media networks, ABC, CBS, PBS, new media networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Luckily, you have a free distribution deal globally. Other things, people show up to these networks as if it's the red carpet, as if it's their commercial. So you have to take that into factor when you are consuming media on these networks. And it also is your choice of whether you're putting out a documentary, a reality show, a commercial, a movie. It's your show. Doesn't matter what Alex is doing or what Tony is doing or what Asia, what any of us are doing. It's your show and it's your network. And then if you are starting out, one of the first things that you should do is sync up your address book, and then go connect with your existing circle. Because what happens for me, periodically, I'll scan my address book and I'll connect with people. And then what happens is you or I show up on people you should follow or people you may know. And vice versa. So you will see higher level contacts, networking, people, big ups in the industry show up, and you'll be showing up on their feeds as well.
Wait, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I feel like because we're sitting in a room full of actors and creatives and filmmakers, it would be weird to ignore the fact that this industry is something that is so challenging. I mean, we're going out on auditions, and some people find that anxiety-inducing, and oftentimes, that instills a sense of doubt and a lack of confidence inherently in this career. So I think a lot of the time that's maybe something that you're fighting. What I would say to combat that is, if you can't see yourself as an actor or a creative, how can you expect anyone else out there to see you as that?
Mic drop.
So on that topic of being actors on social media, a couple of questions to bring up are, what if you're working on a project and you have something coming out and you have signed NDAs, and how to sort of navigate around that so that you're not breaking any of the contracts that you signed, but that still you might be able to, things to look for, ways that you might be able to create excitement with your followers. Anyone want to talk about that?
There is a loophole to every contract and every NDA. I've signed many NDAs. I mean, the simple thing is you say, oh my God, I have something coming up. Can't wait to talk about it. Oh my God, I have something. You can do that every single day up until your agent says you can talk about it, or a press release. I just booked a pilot, and I could not say that I booked it until the press release came out. So I was just like, oh my God, I'm out partying right now because something great happened to me last night. And I've known for weeks, but you can do these little tidbits, Or you can be like, oh my God, can't wait to get back on set, special project coming up. I think that's the loophole about it all. You're not talking about it. And also, that NDA doesn't say that you can't work any other place. So it does. They don't know what you're talking about. No one does. It's too vague for anyone to be like, you're talking about this project. No, I'm talking about the fact that I just got engaged or something like that. Like you don't. There is nothing that is holding you back to, like, it's like a burlesque really. I'm gonna be naked, but I'm not gonna show you that I'm naked.
My go-to, that was amazing.
Thank
that
you.
metaphor. It's in there. My go-to for things like that is a picture behind the scenes. And of course, you have to make sure that you're allowed to even take pictures on sets. But, you know, if you're in TV, there's always a trailer. All the trailers are the same. Just take a picture in front of the trailer. Don't be wearing your wardrobe. Or if you're in like a hair and makeup chair and you are wearing wardrobe, I love Instagram because you can just color over your wardrobe. And all of a sudden, you're just promoting yourself in hair and makeup behind the scenes.
If I can throw strategy
Please
onto
do.
that, like
Love it.
I would definitely funnel people to your email list. Like say like I'm gonna announce it to my insiders first, or wherever you want to send them. So you could bring people over from Facebook or Twitter elsewhere. And then keep in mind, whatever story you're telling, there's a beginning, middle, and end. So that's the beginning, the tease. Then the day of, night of, whatever, tell the during, and then after, do some follow-ups with the gratitude. And just keep that in mind that we're now talking about the before part, but there's 3 other phases for that particular project.
And we all love beginnings, middles, and ends because we know about that. That's the right with our training, with storytelling. So that's great. I'm really glad you related that, Heidi.
Well, I feel like there's probably, there's tons of NDAs out there, but a lot of my clients, there's just restrictions in their contract. So always, if you didn't sign an NDA, make sure you check your contract because there could be restrictions for what to post, when you can post it. So always be mindful of that, but don't be fearful. So with your posting about your projects, that's the big thing I see actors doing. They get so scared that they're going to give something away that they just don't post about their project at all. And every job you do is an opportunity to build your brand and to build buzz for your career. So if you ever have a question, it's not in your contract, you're not sure, don't be afraid just to find out. Like contact PR, contact the social media for the show and say, how can I help spread the word? How and when can I help? Most of the time the answer is going to be, here's when you can do it and here's how you can do it. They want people to help. So don't be so, just be mindful, but don't be fearful about it. They want you to help spread the word as long as you're doing it at the right time. So don't be afraid to ask, how can I help promote this? Okay.
And then there's another side of it, and I've seen sometimes friends having to sort of clean up after this happens, which is, I'm so excited. I'm going to be on this show. Everybody watch. Please watch. I'm so excited. It's at this time. Here I am in my trailer. I'm so excited, that you're finally showing the thing with the day you shot. You guys know where this is going. And in the end, it's like, oh, thank you for watching. And my scene was really cut down, or there was so much more that I did, or I had this really funny line, and whatever it is. It's a disappointment, And I've also had friends that my heart's just gone out to them when they said, my scene was totally cut. And that does happen. So I'm bringing this up because I really want to empower you to be able to make bold choices, move fearlessly through this and just get engaged and get started, and knowing that there's going to be a way to handle, as they say, put the spin on it. So what are your suggestions around something like that?
That was the number one thing I asked my agent when I first booked something, because it was such a small role. And I was like, I want to take pictures during this because it was a show that was really friendly with social media and loves promotion. But at the same time, I don't want to get my hopes up or have people ask me about it later on if it doesn't work out. And she was so smart. She was like, just post it. Just show people you're out there and you're working and you're doing things, because regardless of whether or not you get on the show, obviously it's the best when you make it, but you got paid, right? You're doing what you love. you're building your craft, just post it. People forget.
Baby, the check still clears. That's the thing. You get what you came for. There's the exposure as well, but you get what you came for. You went for the check. I mean, that's what I go for.
You're doing what you love,
but
and
like
you're
you
making
can,
money.
and then if your scene gets cut, you'd be like, "LOL, JK, didn't
Or
get
you don't
make
even
it."
have
Or you don't,
to-
but you don't
yeah.
even have to do that. But if you have enough pride in yourself, you can be like, "Actually, I worked hard. These are all the these are all the pictures that I took. All the people that I made, my wardrobe, all that good stuff," and be like, "It was a great experience, regardless."
Post with gratitude about the people
Yep.
you worked with. They're still going to be excited about that you worked with James Spader or whoever you worked with, you know? So there's still a story to tell besides the actual watching you on TV, you know? What happened? Who'd you work with? You know, you can still tell stories even if you didn't make it, you know?
And so I'm going to further expand this idea of things you shouldn't do just for a moment, because this is where, this is maybe part of the fear that's keeping some people from moving into this, and experiencing this, but is the overshare or the inappropriate shares, what I'm talking about. I mean, I think we've all seen it, but sometimes I don't think maybe that person who's doing that knows that that's what's happening. So how do we get honest feedback around that? Or what are some ways that we can keep ourselves from going into that space?
I'll jump in here. So if you think of it like
Brave.
networking and you are showing up to the Facebook room, you happen to be in the same room as Oprah and Steven Spielberg and ex-director and your mother and your grandma. Like everyone can see it. So that will help you filter what you put out there. And in the same way, if that were a fancy industry party or a holiday party, you show up differently. So that's going to allow you to dress yourself for the party, share in the community without oversharing or saying something inappropriate. It's just going, well, if Oprah sees this or if my grandma, maybe I shouldn't post this here on social media.
So what you're talking about is giving yourself some reference points for the platform that you're on. Because I think, when we are basically writing something that is either on our computers or on our phones, is we're alone. We don't have a team of publicists that are behind us saying, do this, do that, or that we give the information over to and that they are handling it. So you really are a one man or one person band at that point, and so I like this idea of like giving yourself, I guess that you could say boundaries, but also reference points of what is happening on this, in this arena.
Yeah, if my family or if my employers or my future dream employers see this post, is this something I would be okay saying?
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's two things you need to ask yourself before you hit post or tweet, and one of them is, does this honor my contract or NDA? And would I be comfortable if my mom, dream producer, casting director that I want, that I want to, go in for, would I feel comfortable having them see this? So those are really the two big questions you have to ask yourself. You are what you tweet. So like think about it before you put out there. Anything you put out there, it's a direct reflection of who you are and the person they're going to work with for hours on set or hours in the rehearsal room. So you really have to think about, those two things.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, I do also feel like there has been a shift, particularly in social media, when it comes to authenticity, because initially Instagram was, and it still does have this reputation of being a filtered platform where everyone puts their highlights and the best of the best. I'm living my best life and I'm on a beach somewhere. I just booked all of these roles. And I think the good thing is that we're seeing this movement of people who are really starting to feel more comfortable in their skin and post those pictures from the jobs they don't get. And I feel like those often do get a lot of engagement when you do show you are human, you are relatable. There's a reason why you should follow me, because I'm just like you, I'm overcoming challenges, and there's something to be said about that when it comes to oversharing, but I agree completely. It should be something that's in line professionally and also with the image you want to put out there.
Ditto. No, I mean, we live in a time where there is no such thing as oversharing anymore. I mean, it doesn't exist. We have Kylie Jenner with over 100 million followers because she is oversharing, and the Richter scale keeps teetering until it's broken. And I think we're living in a time where that scale is actually broken. You just have to know what you're comfortable with oversharing and what the line is for you in your career in oversharing. Because there's an egg that has an Instagram that has 10 million followers. Just remember that there is an egg. Keep that in mind.
And I mean the personality.
Yeah, the personality of the
It was
egg
an egg.
is unboundly driven.
So I want to give you another excuse why someone might not want to get started on doing some social media. They're just too dang busy. There's just too much going on. How do you find time, especially if you're going to be in this space of, oh, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? I mean, what would you recommend for people to start placing some time to put themselves in the mindset of being able to create something that they would want to share socially?
Is it important for you for people to know your story? That's like doing all of this hard work and getting all of these roles and then shoving them in your closet and waiting for people to find you. How are they going to find you if you're not wearing the outfits out in the world so they can compliment what you chose? I'm not saying you have to compliment this, but
Love the shoes.
I feel like if it really matters, thank you. If it really matters to you, if it really matters to you, and this is something you want to do and something you want people to know about, you make the time to take the quick picture or to write the post or to send the email to reach out to that person. It doesn't have to be a chore. Make it fun, however that means for you.
And I mean, social media can be a waste of time, and if you don't have a plan, I mean, and so there are really systems you can put in place that are going to make sure that you're not spending hours every day. I mean, think of any social network out there. The whole point of that social network is so that you spend hours on it every day, from the stories to the feed to scrolling down the feed. Oh, look, you forgot about these stories, or the suggested videos after you watch one video on YouTube. They want to keep you there. So if you can set up systems for yourself every day, you'll be able to maximize your time and get more done, and you'll start treating it like a business. Just like an easy example would be, even finding a time of day to manage your social media. So, this would be checking your comments, your replies, your messages, depending on what platform you're on. Find a time of day to do this. Turn off your notifications. Do not have them coming on your phone all day, because you're just going to get overwhelmed and burnt out and and start hating social media. So turn off those notifications unless they're for some specific people, and pick a time to manage your social media every day. And you can align this with something you do every day. That's something my clients find really helpful. So maybe it's with your morning coffee, because you do that every day. Maybe it's with lunch or a glass of wine, as long as you don't have too much. Or if you're a mom, maybe if you're a mom, it's your kids' Paw Patrol time or Daniel Tiger time is your social media time, right? I just found the moms in the audience. I have a 4-year-old. So finding that time that you can manage your social media, for 15 minutes, 10 minutes a day is going to save you so much time, so that you're not spending all day getting sucked into that social vortex. So for me, in my experience, setting up these systems, and there's a lot of things you can do for your social media, will help you stay on track, and can kind of make a mindset shift for you there, that it's not a waste of time, and that it doesn't have to take over your life. You are the boss of your social media. It's not the boss of you, okay?
And what I like, too, that you're talking about is really treating it as part of your business plan. This is a related thing where I remember a friend was online for dating, but never wanted to go check anything or answer any of the replies. Or, so it was really hard for the dating app to work for them, because they just couldn't find the time, or didn't want to answer, or go through what it was going to take in order to find someone, special that they liked. But it was like really deciding, this is what I'm going to do it if I want to make this work for me. And I just think that, talking about it from such a a business point of view, and I think everyone's been bringing up ways that with networking and ways of being able to show who you are so that it does further you and what your message is, but not to suck you down, because everybody is you're sitting on the subway and you just see the whole line of people across the way as you're checking your phone, and you see everybody else on their phone as well. But sometimes it also can become so commonplace that you then don't treat it as something special or a way that you are using it to promote your business. Tony, were you going to piggyback on what Heidi was saying?
I have a client who is an Emmy award-winning journalist and has an aversion to social media. And if you work in media, it's a part of your job. So that's something to keep in mind, that you work in media, so it is a part of your job. If I were to assign a pie chart, as I do to my clients, here's what that looks like. 25% can be scheduled. That is Happy President's Day, Happy Valentine's Day, Happy St. Patrick's Day. And you've already scheduled that. You've scheduled your opening night or whatever. So you can sit down on a rainy day and pre-plan, or even the night before. I have some clients who are really heavy publishers, and they'll schedule their social media for the next day. 25% scheduled. That's only a quarter. 25% live. And I put that in quotation marks because you don't have to go live. You don't have to post throughout the day. You can actually latergram that, but it's about doing things that are spontaneous, that are really current events, so that it doesn't come across as an automated robot, that you are actually a human being behind that avatar. And then 50% is social. You have to get in there and interact with people. It does require time, and yes, learning some systems and software to help you sort through the noise to find the nutrients is really going to be helpful. And so you can work with someone independently. The other thing that I would say is, if you get really good at this, if you find yourself scattered between acting jobs, you could source yourself out to your friends and say, I'll manage your social media for you. So keep that in mind, that it is not going anywhere, and it can be a significant source of supplemental income for you as a storyteller.
You can work from anywhere too.
I'm going to Bali.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, because the thing is, if you don't feel comfortable with social media in any facet, you actually do not have to do it. You don't. It is helpful, but there are so many actors. If the vessel and the craft is there and the work ethic is there, and you keep booking, you keep working, and you're not posting, then keep doing that. That works for you. It's just another facet of the business. You don't actually, because I go days upon days about not even looking at Instagram or touching it. I'm fortunate enough to not have to do that, but you don't actually have to post every single thing or anything at all. There are actors like, what is his name? He's in the Kingsman movies. He doesn't have any social media, and he will still work because the craft is there. So I don't want everyone to think that it's social media is the end all be all or such a giant thing of the career and the craft of it all.
But I do also think this panel has kind of turned into social media, but self-promotion isn't just about social media. So those actors are booking roles because they're putting themselves out there in some way, shape, or form, whether that means they're networking with other actors and filmmakers and creatives, they're going to classes, they're finding agents. If you never tell someone what you can do, they're never going to know.
And your connections with your connection with your fans is a big part of your career. I mean, that's really a huge part of what social media is, and it's why I do agree with Alex that not everyone needs to be on social media, but the number one reason I get clients is because they're sent to me because they have posting requirements in their contract. They have to do an Instagram story takeover. They're not even on Instagram. They have to live tweet on the show that they're now on. So it's becoming part of your job. It's not just you're in media and now you got to do it. No, it's actually part of your job. It's in contracts. And yes, you can decide not to do it and not to be a part of that team, part of the team, but you at some point it will affect your career in some way. I don't want to bring it down, but it's why I get clients from agents and managers, is because they're being told they need to connect with their fans. You know, the producers want this. So you do need to know if it's just because you don't want to do it or you don't want to add it to your list of things to do, you might want to give it a try for a little bit because it is becoming part of your job as an actor. So.
And I think it is kind of the future. Sorry to cut you off. If you look at something, you mentioned Kerry Washington before, and she talks all the time about how big social media played a role in the success of Scandal. Obviously, Shonda Rhimes, but even something like Lifetime's You, that then made the move to Netflix. A lot of these shows that you see having success are because they have this massive social component, and all of these people in the audience want to share it with their friends and their family. Have you seen this? And they're live tweeting while the show's going on. They're posting memes about it. We're living in the future, and to ignore it as our industry is changing is just silly.
If I can bring all of that together, you can reserve the real estate. You can put a flag in Twitter or on Instagram and leave a post directing people to where the party is. Regardless, and this is not a sales pitch, I want everyone to have a website because it controls your Google results. If you're sending people to IMDb, then you're going to lose them to other actors or ads. And so you've got to get people the spotlight on you. Great examples of this, 2 examples. Kristen Wiig, these are not my clients, but I'm just going to throw these out there. Kristen Wiig has a landing page. It's a stick figure drawing of her, and it says she's not on MySpace, not on Facebook, but you can contact her agent and her publicist. So it is converting for her, for the people who are going to reach out. Tracy Ellis Ross has a landing page with a little bit of a fun photo, 3 photos of her to be exact, with her social icons. So she is feeding interest. She's collecting interest and sending people to all of her platforms. So if Google Plus is gone, but let's use that as an example. If you're like, well, I guess I have a Google Plus, you would leave a post that says, you know what, I'm more of an Instagram person, come join me over there. So you can reserve the real estate, not necessarily have to show up to the party, and just point people to where they can find you. But get a website and also get an email list.
Especially
Okay,
if
just a
you're
second.
creating content. Yeah.
Yeah, and so expand a little bit on that because you just hit that real quick.
Sorry, yeah.
So about the website and the email list, talk about how that is helpful to people.
So I've been in business now. I was an actor and I've transitioned into this world, and it's been 5 years of the journey. And through that, I've created a method which 4 parts: branding, website, email, and social. You got to know who you are and who you want to talk to. Then we build a home for people to visit you on the internet. While they're there, we want them to either contact you or your team or sign up for email updates, which we'll circle back to. Social media is the cherry on the sundae. It's literally the fun part, hopefully, that you find a joy for it, but it's only a quarter of the bigger picture. The reason why I'm gonna say email is because if you grow a huge following on Instagram or YouTube and they change the algorithm or they change the terms of service, where's your audience? So it's a fear tactic, but it makes sense. Furthermore, we're all up here on stage. We don't know what's happening on social media right now. But after we leave here, yes, he does. He's telepathic. After we leave here, you're probably going to go check your email at some point tonight, and you're going to get all of these emails. So it's a much better way to reach people. So email is your digital insurance policy. Should Instagram algorithm or terms of service change, you have your audience that you can reach more directly, and it's a more effective way of marketing to people.
I thought someone was going to say something about that. No?
Well, I'll just add though, as your website is going to be as big as your career. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but I should say your email list. Email lists are very expensive to have once your career grows. So, if I had to have, I don't know how many, 32,000 followers on Instagram right now. And I'm trying to funnel all those to my email list. You guys need to keep in mind, email lists are expensive. So when you're just starting out, you can use something like MailChimp, that's free, but I just want to warn people, don't go up and try to sign up for an email, a CRM and spend a lot of money to collect an email list, okay? Because that can get very pricey. A lot of actors just starting out, social media is a great way to collect your fans for free, okay? And I'm not disputing what you said, but email can be very expensive. I know I have a big EMLS. So.
And one solution, one solution is to not actually connect it to any email service provider. Much like setting your stake in the ground on Twitter, have it back up to a spreadsheet. So people are signing up to your VIP list or to be the first to know. And it's just a list of names and emails so that when the time comes that you have a book to promote or an album or a one-man show, you have the list of people to email directly. So you don't have to sign up for it until you're ready, but definitely start collecting those names and emails now because it is your insurance policy.
And are you saying then to funnel your people that are following you on social media to then follow?
It's like backing up your computer.
Okay, so I mean, you're literally asking them, please send me an email at this email address or sign up on this, or what exactly are you saying?
Well, no one wants to sign up for a newsletter. So you have to give them something of value. And so for most people, this worked with a bar that I worked with. Speaking of a crisis that I came in and tried to help. And we created on their landing page, join the VIP list. And thousands of people signed up. And we promised them just to be get a few perks. So don't call it a newsletter. Call it your VIP list. They're going to be the very first to know when you have something major to share. You're going on tour, you're doing a concert, whatever it may be. Treat them like your insider fan club. And that's what you're promising them, is that they're like your best friend or your family member, where social gets second dibs.
I love that. And it's interesting because you're so used to this that I just wanted to just, slow it down just a second, just so everyone can understand it and the logic behind it. Because, being a part of a VIP list, that sounds really nice. People are letting you in on something. And I feel like, graciousness is also such a part of this, because when you're talking about it being social, network rather than social marketing, those kinds of things, just changing the verbiage sometimes can help so that you feel like you're not just, a salesperson knocking on door to door. There's enough of that being an actor, with getting your reps, with getting work. So to be able to, it really sounds to me like you're all saying from different viewpoints. It's like you can make it your own. You can decide how much you want to do. But what I've really heard are some different ideas tonight of ways to approach it that make it more personal, because we don't want to have to engage in something that is no fun or that you feel like you're, just blasting stuff out there. But I love the idea of engagement. That word has been used a lot tonight. And meaning that you're getting people that are sending things back to you in some way so that whether that would be likes or it would be people posting, asking a question, them answering, those kinds of things that make it more personal. Would you say that feels right?
Yeah, making it a conversation.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm a firm believer. I do not post anything that I do not want to post. I mean, I can't tell you how many advertisements I get to post about, and they'll actually send me what I need to post word for word, and I will send it back and be like, I'm not going to post this word for word because that's not Alex Newell. That's not who I am. That's not what I'm going to do. Also, with being on Glee, I did a show on Broadway called Once This Island, and they were all like, it's social media heavy, and I was just like, absolutely not. I can't. If you want me to do it, you can come to me and I'm going to do it with you, or you're gonna pay someone to do it for me. I do not like fake posting. I want everyone to know I'm my brand of me being myself, and I think that is genuine and it's very authentic because you're letting someone know just a little piece of you, because you're not always going to have People Magazine following. You're not always going to have all these giant publications following you all the time. So you can control and do whatever you want with that.
Yeah, that's great. So we are going to have some questions. I hope that you were able to pass them in so that Melissa got them. If anyone else has a last minute question. I just feel like sometimes when something's in front of us that we want to digest, that we want to make a part of us, looking at this as being such a, talk about video, you're talking about media, but you're also talking about visual. That's very, very visual. Sometimes you'll find that people will just write something and not have a picture attached to it or not have a video. But it seems as though they already have a relationship with their audience, so that there doesn't have to also be something that is a picture that's posted on there. And to me, that feels like they know who they're speaking to and who's coming back, what's coming back to them. Do you find that? I mean, are you always saying, like, to clients, always put a picture up there, always put a video, that has to happen that way?
I think for engagement, everything in social media is going more toward video. So videos and photos do get more engagement depending on what platform you're on. But the platforms are different. I mean, I post text all the time on Twitter and get that some of my posts that don't have pictures get the best engagement. I always tell people and clients, when you're making a post, think about 3 different things. What do you want them to see? How do you want to make them feel? And what do you want to make them do? So that first question is what we're talking about. What do you want them to see? I mean, it could just be text, but it could be a GIF. It could be animated text. It could be, a story. And there's a million options on Instagram with, is it a super zoom? What do you want them to see? So yes, pictures, videos get a little bit more engagement, but mix it up. Try different things, and always ask those three questions. What do you want them to see? Because it's not always about the visual. It's about how do you want to make them feel? We talked about this some point tonight. How do you want them to feel? Do you want to educate, inspire? Do you want to entertain them? And then what do you want to make them do? Do you want them to double tap? Do you want them to answer a question? Do you want them to direct message you? What do you want them to do? So if you always follow those 3 things, I think regardless of whether there's a picture or not, and of course it's different on different platforms, you're going to be more successful with your posts. So always just remember, what do I want them to see? What do I want? How do I want to make them feel? And what do I want to make them do?
Great.
And I think that good writing is a form of media. So, and it really depends on your gift. So if you're funny, maybe you actually do better on certain platforms using text only, or maybe you make really funny videos, or maybe you have a beautiful eye and you're able to create great photos. So definitely pay attention to what you do really well and like tap into that. Just like there are some clients who have a podcast because they hate writing. So they're really great about just talking, but they freeze when they have to go type something. That being said, most social media has a caption regardless. So it is, I would say, definitely don't forsake writing and like learning how to express in that medium.
And to be in your voice. And it sounds like also to be in your truth and finding your strengths with that. So we have a question for everyone here on the panel. And this is from Shara. With email blasts over and over, I see only 20% is opened, and that is considered good. How can we make that more? Strategy. Thank you, Shara.
The first thing, I think if you're doing well, that's great. I wouldn't call it a blast. It's a letter that you're sending out. And if you're, again, focused on metrics, like if you just want to do that, I would say start segmenting your email so that instead of sending out to everyone and only getting 20%, look at the 20% that's opening and see if you can attract more of the right people, or just send out more specific messaging to each group of your audience.
So my group with pudding, my group with my cats, I want to make sure I'm sending to them and giving them the good news about those topics.
We bring up pudding again. I'm getting hungry.
I know, pudding. I don't know why, it just sounds so delicious. But anyways, this is from Claire. How do you best utilize social media when you are not working? Great question, Claire. Thank you. Someone want to take that?
Well, I think we talked about a little bit earlier is that you're not always posting about what you're working on, right? So you really need to think about the different aspects of yourself that you're going to post about beyond your actor's life. On Instagram, I call this your Fab 4. So your 4 things that make you fabulous and awesome. One of them is probably your actor's life. Now, there might be a second one if you're a writer or a content creator that's also, acting, artist related. But the other ones are going to be about you being a mom or a vegan or about your dog. There's going to be other things that people are going to connect to. So you're not always posting about your actor's life. If you are, you're going to always constantly be asking, what do I post? Because even the biggest actors don't work all the time. So if that's all you're going to post about, you're going to always be asking, what do I post? So try to find a balance between your actor's life and your personal life, and that's going to help you out a lot wherever you are.
And also, Alex, you were talking about the post that you made about your mom.
Yeah, I mean, you have different things that you can post about. Even if you're like, all I want to focus on is my acting career, post you reading a new script, post you reading a new book, post you going to an acting class or an improv class. Those are things that working on the craft, you can do stuff like that. I think that's cool and interesting to see because you don't see a lot of that. You see everyone be like, I'm on set, look at me being fierce and fabulous.
Well, and also it's something that, we were talking about authenticity. And obviously, I mean, you love your mom and,
She loves me. I gave birth to her. No, I mean, like there are other facets. Like post your best friends, post you at dinner. Go back to the original Instagram or the original Twitter, like what it was made for, to show you as a person, not a career.
Nice. I like that. So many great phrases we're getting tonight. I'm really loving this. Okay, so Carmen is saying, coming back, redefining my career, what are some effective steps / criteria for websites, engaging websites?
I'll jump in here.
Okay, please do, Tony.
One of my favorite stories is Mindy DeLacy. You can go check out mindydelacy.com. This is an actor who worked for 25 years on Rodeo Drive in the fashion industry and decided to go back. We built a website together, and the one thing I would say is hire someone. You need strategy. Anyone can build a website, but you need it to get you results. So it is an investment to make, much like headshots or reels. It's actually international and 24/7. Soapbox over. Mindy put out her website and started reintroducing herself to the industry. You've seen her on Feud. She's in the sequel to the Human Centipede movie, the really wacky one. But here's the deal. She booked that job through Twitter. This avant-garde director found her and went and looked at her website and offered her the job on Twitter. So that's one of my favorite client stories because it's never too early, it's never too late, but you do have to be able to be found and discovered. And then the social part of it is sort of like, here's the real me. The website is like, here's the, business side, I think. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be, there's exceptions to every rule. But that's sort of a nice way to start. And circling back, you got to be good at what you do. So if I opened up a pizza shop and word got around that like it's so, it's not going to last very long. So all of this is like extra on top, but it's the icing. You got to have the cake first.
And
Mindy DeLacy. I love you, Mindy.
And as far as the website, it reminds me of electronic press kit is basically, it's just like, it's kind of like that. Those are your specifics. These are the things that you can do. And then it's like usually on your website, then of course, then you say, and then go and find me on social media as well.
And a website's a great way to collect your fans in other ways too. I don't know how many content creators we have, but right nowadays there's so many actors that are also content creators. There's so many multi-artists, right? So if you have a website as an actor and for your content and you have a Facebook page, I want you to go home and put a Facebook pixel on your website. And you probably don't know how to do that on your own, so Google, how do I put a Facebook pixel on my website? You can do this if you have a Wix site, a Weebly site, any kind of site, a WordPress site. And what this does is it tracks everybody that goes to your website. And this is so important as a content creator, okay? So it's a Facebook pixel. And what you can do is, let me use an example right now. I'm working with an actress right now who has a one-woman play off-Broadway. And it's actually just opening right now. And she contacted me 5 months ago to work together. We set that pixel up 5 months ago. If she would have called me yesterday, it would have been way too late, right? We have been collecting fans in all different ways. People visiting her website. We have been collecting audiences from Instagram, from Facebook. It's an amazing tool, guys. So your website is also a great way to collect audiences, because what we can do with these audiences is once your show opens, or if you're doing a web series, now we can retarget them for very cheap because you are collecting this audience. It's kind of a big technical conversation, but you can serve pretty inexpensive Facebook ads to them so that they will see your content, so that they will come to your show. It's actually an amazing time to be an actor right now, because 10 years ago, this was not really possible. And now you can literally sell out your show because because you're taking your website, you're taking social media, they work hand in hand, and you're tracking these people that are interested in what you do and the content you're creating. So if we have any content creators here or watching later on, please put that pixel on your site, because you are collecting those fans so that you can then retarget them. It's a terrible word, but so that you can then tell them about your projects so that they can come and see them. It's really, really important and really an exciting time, to be an actor, because we can do things like that.
Thank you. We have one last question, and it's a long one, but let's go for it. So Justine says, I'm very political. Politics is big for me, but it can be controversial. Why did I read this question? This is gonna be like an hour we're gonna talk about this. But I've been able to unravel my Twitter from personal, professional versus political, and it's been easier to do that. Not the case with Instagram, my personal Facebook, however. What are your suggestions here? I sometimes hide certain posts from an industry friend list on Facebook, but that's really effective, and I don't. That's not really effective, and I don't do it much. So it's basically this political. Boy, we're bringing this up in the last couple of minutes here, but let's just address this very quickly if we can.
Get a blog.
Okay.
Under a different name. If you're trying to hide part of yourself, there's a reason. So maybe just don't even put in the effort to post about politics if you think it's going to come back and bite you.
Yeah, think about, is it really important to your career? If you're using your social media as a business, are your politics part of that? And if the answer is yes, that's cool. But just know that everyone out there that's going to hire you might not have your same beliefs. What I do tell people, because I don't want actors and artists to lose their voice, obviously, is if you're going to talk about controversial subjects, which don't just have to be politics, there's lots of them, but try to tweet or post about what you're for instead of what you're against, okay? Because then you're going to be seen in a positive light. Everything is taken out of context on social media. People pull up tweets from forever ago, and they don't know what the whole conversation is. Now we've got all our threads, and so if you're always posting, what you're for instead of like from the negative what you're against, you're probably going to be safe. So it's really important to you. Always think about that. Okay.
Almost piggybacking off of having a blog, have a Finsta. Have something that's not attached to your name that's still accessible. Like, you can flip back and forth profiles on Instagram and Twitter and on Facebook at the end of the day. And just use it that way. I mean, you shouldn't have to have a marketing, a business side of an Instagram, social media, but then have something that's just you, and you can curate who you want to follow you and curate who you follow back. And that saves you a lot of pressure and time and effort. If you don't want to just be bold and post it in one specific place, because social media is there for marketing and it's there for personal gain at the end of the day. It's not just for marketing, even if you are just an actor or singer, dancer, model, flag twirler, football player, politician, all that good stuff. Hoorah.
Fabulous. Now, if you're watching this at home, because this is being taped, that you'll be able to see everyone's name here, and you'll be able to go and find them. Pardon?
I said, ooh, is it like right down here?
Yeah, just look right down here in this video, right down there. You
Y'all
see everybody's
fancy.
name. But I really appreciate you sharing with us your personal strategies, your professional strategies. I know that Tony and Heidi both are out there helping actors, so you can find their sites if you are interested in finding out more about what they're doing, and of course to be able to follow everybody. I just think it's really exciting because you have all made this work for you. And I think that's what this all has been about. And I really appreciate Melissa bringing this topic into our series, here for the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, because it's just such an important aspect of it. But she really said authentic, bringing your authentic self. And I think you've just given us so many opportunities to do authentic and also very effective, strategies, things that have worked for you. So I really, I want everyone to be able to thank you for bringing who you are to us tonight. Thank you.